What's up, YT? Waste of Space here. Recently, a small town I've never heard of, with a population of around 20,000 residents, caught my attention. Dolton, Illinois, and their self-proclaimed super mayor, Tiffany Henyard, have been in the spotlight as of late for a variety of controversial reasons, which we'll get into shortly. Back in April of 2021, Tiffany broke new ground by becoming the youngest female mayor in Dolton's 130-year history. But that wasn't the only historic precedent she was going to set. Shortly after being elected, Tiffany wasted no time making some controversial moves which have only gotten bolder and more contentious. Let's go over a few reasons why the super mayor deserves a super investigation for possibly being super corrupt. Controversy began before Tiffany was even elected as Dolton's mayor. In January of 2021, she launched her mayoral campaign with a unique and questionable strategy, hosting a free gas giveaway for potential voters.
It is campaign season in South suburban Dolton, and one mayoral candidate kicked it off by giving away gas for free. Here's CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozloff with why that gift could come back to haunt her.
While I'm no expert in the intricacies of election law, this move raises some questions, because it looks like you're trying to buy votes by giving away free gas.
And whenever you tell me you need something, I show up and I do it by giving gas.
Tiffany Henyard enthusiastically pitched Sunday's free gas giveaway on her Tiffany for Mayor Facebook page Saturday. 24 hours later, the takers showed up in droves. The press release touting the gift of free gas stated essential workers would be given priority, but anyone with a Dolton address would be eligible too.
This wasn't even the first time she threw an event like this either.
Thank you guys for coming to the biggest gas giveaway there is.
Henyard has given away gas before in November. Henyard was unavailable to talk with us about this issue too, and what exactly her intent was.
Only a few months after the gas giveaway, the mayoral candidate found herself making headlines again. This time, she organized a fundraising event that featured cash prizes, which again, looks like an attempt to buy votes.
Now, back in January, she held a gas giveaway, which raised questions about illegal vote buying. The candidate raising eyebrows again by giving away cash prizes at a fundraiser this weekend. Now, here's the ad. It's this Sunday, 5 to 8. Come support Tiffany Henyard for mayor of Dolton and maybe win one of 3 cash prizes totaling more than $8,000.
Are you noticing a pattern already? In May of 2021, Tiffany was inaugurated as Dolton's mayor, clinching a staggering 82% of the vote in the April election. With a victory margin like that, one can't help but wonder, how much did those free giveaways contribute to swaying voters' decisions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Shortly after taking office, the super mayor found herself in the spotlight again. In an unprecedented move, she barred city trustees and taxpayers from entering the village hall, forcing a meeting to take place outdoors, a move no previous mayor had ever tried before.
Good evening to you. The mayor locking the trustees out of Village Hall tonight, forcing them to have a meeting out in the parking lot, all of which has Dolton residents shaking their heads in disbelief.
When questioned about her actions, a trustee suggested that the mayor was attempting to block certain proposals from passing, but he didn't provide any specifics.
Tonight, they say they were locked out of the village hall and forced to hold their meeting with a quorum they had in the parking lot.
We had a quorum, we had the clerk, and we had a board meeting outside.
Why the pushback on her part, you think?
Well, there's things on the agenda that she doesn't want us to pass.
To me, this type of stuff shows that she has no problem with using her newfound authority to sideline anyone who she perceives as an opponent. In November of 2021, just 6 months into her term, Dolton residents began calling for the mayor's resignation after it was revealed she had hired a registered child sex offender for a city position. The individual in question, a close friend of the super mayor, was appointed and added to the city's payroll without the village board's consent. This move understandably made residents upset because they don't want their tax dollars being used to compensate a registered sex offender.
Dolton is going to go down if these people they just need to get out of office as a whole.
You'd like to see them?
Do they need a recall on the mayor?
And residents were serious about the recall. In June of 2022, Dolton's super mayor was subjected to a referendum, resulting in her being ousted by the electorate.
Just over a year after getting sworn in as Dolton's mayor, voters recalled Tiffany Henyard Tuesday.
We listen to the community. The community has asked us, what can we do? They were uncomfortable with lack of transparency. They were uncomfortable with the spending.
Village trustee Jason House believes the referendum to recall the mayor was necessary and fair.
We are a democracy. The people have spoken, and we really are going to do everything we can to make sure that their voice is heard.
However, she challenged this outcome in court, and while the court permitted the recall election to proceed and votes to be tallied, it halted the certification of the results. This legal standstill allowed the supermayor to retain her position until a resolution was reached.
This ruling by the Illinois Appellate Court days before Tuesday's election said the recall election could go on, and those votes can get counted but not certified.
By October of the same year, an appellate court decision overturned the June recall vote. The ruling allowed the supermayor to maintain her position. Imagine how different things would be if the results of the election were certified and the mayor was thrown out of office. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. The mayor celebrated the decision in true supermayor fashion.
New at 10, making a political statement with some disco in South suburban Dolton. Take a listen.
How y'all doing? Ain't no stopping us now.
All right, karaoke night apparently at City Hall. That's Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard kicking off tonight's board meeting with her rendition of the 1979 hit Ain't No Stopping Us Now. The reason for the throwback jam? An appellate court ruling threw out a June recall vote that would have removed Henyard from office.
You would think that narrowly avoiding a recall would serve as a wake-up call, but it seems Tiffany took no lessons to heart. The supermayor once again attracted media attention for utilizing taxpayer funds to organize a march to Springfield, a move she leveraged to promote her personal charity.
A South suburban politician spends taxpayer dollars on a march to Springfield to promote her personal charity. But when we started asking questions, the party's over.
Fox 32 and the Illinois Answers Project, part of the Better Government Association, are investigating the charitable foundation of Tiffany Henyard, who is on 2 public payrolls as Dolton mayor and Thornship Township supervisor.
For someone who loves to publicize their name and image, the name of her charity probably isn't too surprising.
So last fall, Henyard did something that would seemingly generate some good publicity, helping establish the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation to help breast cancer patients.
Of course it's called the Tiffany A. Henyard Cares Foundation. And of course she cares so much that she has no problem allocating public funds to promote the charity.
I can pretty much map out their entire Springfield trip on the township credit cards.
That's right. Henyard billed thousands of dollars in hotel rooms and meals during the trip to Thornton Township and Dolton credit cards. In addition, the videos show Henyard used multiple village and township vehicles owned by taxpayers to escort the caravan, including a flatbed trailer with a photographer, flying a drone, and a DJ.
Despite her busy schedule, the supermayor still managed to carve out time to address her critics. Cassandra Elston, the Thornton Township assessor, experienced this firsthand when she arrived at work one day to find out the locks on her door had been changed. The reason? Elston had dared to voice concerns over the mayor's extravagant spending.
The elected assessor for Thornton Township was locked out of her office today following a dispute with the township supervisor.
That's right. Thornton Township assessor Cassandra Elston got locked out of her own office, what appears she believes to be retaliation from Thornton Township supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
And she wasn't the only employee the supermayor targeted out of vengeance.
Even village employees are now suing Dolton.
I filed the lawsuit because I am a victim of retaliation.
Eris Montgomery is Dolton's deputy village clerk. In her complaint, filed last May in federal court, she claims the board increased her pay to $60,000, but the mayor ordered not to implement the raise because the clerk didn't support Henyard politically.
The scope of people to intimidate wasn't limited to office holders. Even ordinary citizens could find themselves in the mayor's crosshairs if they expressed dissent. Derek Bosley, known for organizing a popular car show every year, became a target after he declined to merge his event with one sponsored by the mayor.
A South suburban car show is canceled after the entrance is barricaded with giant concrete blocks.
Now the sponsor of that show and the Park District are calling it an act of revenge by the mayor in Dolton, Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco reports the Park District is now considering a lawsuit against the mayor.
His permit was abruptly canceled and the venue was barricaded so no one could enter.
But after paying $1,000 to the Park District for this year's permit, Bosley got an unexpected call last Wednesday from Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's top assistant,
saying that the show would be shut down, but if I move my event to her location on Greenwood, that I would be fine.
Did you take that as a threat?
Yes, I took that as bullying.
Using city, police, and political resources to deny a valid permit request for an event that you see as competition is wild. Lawrence Gardner is another man who has also been harassed simply for not supporting the mayor.
The night of June 10th, police arrived at this truck yard in Dolton, owned by Lawrence Gardner. He says he's been repeatedly harassed for not supporting Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
We taking care of all the business, right? All the business.
Gardner claims the harassment continues.
I'm suffering. They destroyed my trucking company. They shut my store down.
And he's not alone. Others in town are sharing similar stories of alleged retaliation for not supporting this suburban mayor.
And even people who just want to help the community and people in need can become targets if they cross the mayor.
Are you a victim of the dysfunction in Dolton?
Absolutely, but more so, residents are victims. Would you like some of these?
She runs the Free Indeed Market, a ministry-minded pantry set up like a grocery store. It's meant to give people in need a bit of dignity. When Scott recently went public with her frustrations with the mayor and her team, she said she received an angry phone call from the village administrator and a written response saying her plans were insufficient. She'd have to start over.
Imagine wanting to revitalize a rundown shopping center and having your efforts to get plans approved fall on deaf ears. And when you decide to voice your frustrations publicly, you're met with harsh criticism. And when you're making more enemies than friends, you might find yourself not too popular in your own town. So obviously, you need to have some extra security, right? And who's footing the bill for this extra protection? Yep, the taxpayers.
So she's the part-time mayor of a south suburban village of a little more than 20,000 people.
Yet residents of Dolton are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to provide security for their self-proclaimed super mayor.
And as you just heard, this kind of security doesn't come cheap, especially when those overtime hours start piling up for the officers.
So, how much does all this cost? Well, we filed a Freedom of Information request and found that officers assigned to her detail are routinely working hundreds of hours of overtime and even accompanying the mayor when she travels out of state. One officer put in for more than 300 hours worked in a 2-week payroll period, making more than $13,000 in a single paycheck. That's more than 200 hours of OT in just 2 weeks.
With all that security tagging along, you're going to need a bigger ride too, right? So leasing a Tahoe for $150,000 seems like the next logical step, doesn't it?
I sat here and looked at a lease that y'all was paying $149,000 for one of them trucks. You make absolute, that's like when you 19 years old and you go get a car and the interest rate 27%. That makes absolutely no sense. You're
Please
not
stay
making
facts.
great finance, excuse me?
Please stay facts.
But let me tell you, here it is, dated December 27, 2022, the cash price of a 2023 Chevy Tahoe, $93,216.71. Interest and APR, $55,929.49. Total lease price, $149,146.20. Tell me if it's not facts, because your signature is all on it.
When called out, she says, please state facts. But the moment a trustee steps up, ready to lay down the hard evidence with the lease in hand, suddenly those facts aren't so interesting to her anymore. So all those extra costs start to add up, right? It's easy to see how quickly you can create a deficit of $5 million after just a short time in office. What do you think her solution is to cover that gap?
Only on 2 tonight, outrage in a different south suburban town, Dolton. Hundreds of people lined up to pay tickets they say they never should have gotten.
They are all here after getting slapped with various citations all of a sudden by the city.
At first I thought it was $50, and then I had to put my glasses on.
Elizabeth Watson quickly saw an extra zero for a total sum of $500. And if she didn't stand in this line to appear in court,
After the 21st, I'll be on $1,000.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard did not respond when CBS 2 asked for an explanation.
This administration has cost us a $5 million deficit. And now I believe that the mayor is trying to make up that deficit on the backs of the residents.
Well, it turns out if you've been spending taxpayer money and find yourself short, the solution seems simple. Just go back to those same taxpayers and take it from them.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
In December of last year, our part-time mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, who makes almost $225,000 a year, did something pretty interesting. She pushed through an ordinance to slash the mayor's salary by a massive $200,000. But guess what? This pay cut only kicks in for the next person who takes the job. As long as Tiffany's in charge, she keeps her hefty paycheck.
Anthony and Natalie, she makes a whopping $224,000 a year. Now, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wants to cut the salary of her position by nearly $200,000. What a great move for taxpayers, right? Well, the pay cut only happens if someone else gets that job.
It's not hard to see the strategy here. Making the role less appealing financially helps to scare off potential challengers.
It's maybe the worst attempt to try to dissuade people from running that I've ever seen, and that's a long time.
There's no doubt she's a mayor to remember, but for all of the wrong reasons, of course. But to make sure you don't forget who she is, she's got that covered too.
Okay, so if you've driven one of the expressways in the south suburbs recently, you've no doubt seen one of these giant billboards. They feature the name and the face of a smiling local politician. What you may not know is the money for these billboards is coming out of taxpayers' pockets, and that's raising questions. For Tiffany Henyard.
This is a blatant attempt to promote herself politically. The township should not have paid for these if they did, and I'm sure they did.
They did indeed. Bills obtained by Fox 32 under open records laws shows Thornton Township paid more than $10,000 for the vinyl signs themselves.
And asking for permission from the trustees? Why bother? If you think they might throw a wrench in your plans, just start ignoring them outright.
What was your reaction when you saw him?
Well, first of all, I didn't know anything about him.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says the board was never consulted about the billboards, which he says needed their approval.
Circling back to the charity we mentioned before, well, shocker, they failed to file their financial records.
Tiffany Henyard collected $287,000 back in 2022 from her 2 elected positions. That's the same year she founded a charity in her name, a charity that has received considerable tax dollars but hasn't filed basic records with the Illinois Attorney General or the IRS that would show how cancer patients have actually benefited.
They've also failed to respond to the state's Attorney General and have now been threatened with legal action.
We've obtained a new letter sent this week to Henyard's charity in which the Attorney General's office warns failure to comply will leave us no alternative but to pursue all available legal remedies.
Yet, amidst all these controversies, Supermayor is seemingly unfazed, even managing to include a visit to the White House in her list of accomplishments. And when she's on the move, ever wonder how Supermayor and her entourage get around?
Tiffany Henyard and her team travel in style. First-class airfare, fine dining, and 5-star hotels. It's in sharp contrast to the communities they represent, which have a per capita income of $29,000 a year, and 20% of the population lives below the poverty level.
Of course, it's through a lavish lifestyle of fine dining and first-class travel, all on the taxpayer's dime. And don't forget, the poverty rate in Dolton is over 20%. So when you're spending taxpayer money like there's no tomorrow, staring down the barrel of a $5 million deficit, and dodging requests for financial transparency from your charity, what's probably the last thing you should be doing?
Henyard posted a message on her personal Facebook page earlier this week asking people to tune in to a live Facebook broadcast last evening for an announcement that she said could change their lives, a $1 million giveaway in honor of Black History Month. Well, turns out the $1 million is part of the General Assistance Fund administered by Thornton Township, which is used for food pantries, senior services, and other social programs.
I guess we really shouldn't be too surprised that her solution is to just keep spending.
Please make it make sense. That's all I'm saying.
It makes no sense. And something tells me that the spending isn't over, and the worst is yet to come. I'm Wasted Space. Make sure to like and subscribe. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.